Do you sometimes feel like something's not right? Like something is just not right? Because how can a nation be so favored and so disadvantaged? Do you sometimes feel like something about Africa just does not sit right with you? Well, you're right. If you're anything like me, you may have an interest in how and why Africa is the way Africa is. What if I tell you that the Nigeria you know of today is different from the Nigeria pre-independence time? Before 1960, when they were granted independence, the system, the infrastructure, the moral compass, how people were governed, the governing bodies, the collectivism, how people were just there for each other, was just different to how things are today. There was a time this so-called giant of Africa was in fact a giant of Africa. Not only was it one of the best performing economies and nation in the whole of Africa and in the world, there were other nations doing quite well. But once upon a time, 1 naira was in fact £1. In fact, what if I tell you there was a time the West would borrow? Yes, I said it. Borrow money from the Nigerian government. Sounds unheard of. I know. The Nigerian economy and the government were doing so well that the idea of leaving and never returning was so foreign to the normal average person. Why would I leave my nation to go to another nation and stay there? This is unheard of. If I want to leave my nation and go elsewhere on a journey, I better not die there or stay there longer than I should. God forbid. But now, it's like a turn of reversal of fortune. Now people are praying to leave Nigeria. Oh, leave the hellhole. Go elsewhere and stay there permanently. Stay there forever. What changed? It bothers me. Does it bother you? What changed? Who stole Nigeria? They stole it before you were born. You were not here when Nigeria was stolen from you. And the culprits were not trialed or even brought to justice. It's interesting. I'm going to show you a video of a man who lived during that time, and he's going to narrate to you how Nigeria was in fact one of the highest performing nation, gifted, naturally blessed with good leadership, good infrastructure, good moral compass. People just were good people because the foundation was good. It begs the question, should some African nation be recolonized? Or is it that gaining independence is so foreign? It's so foreign of an idea that they just don't know what to do with this independence. They saw what it was like to be a British subject, and all they know is all about being a subject. They just don't know how to lead. Is that what the problem is? Or do you think we should be recolonized again? Let's find out.
Emma teacher òyìnbó bẹ lecturer òyìnbó àbí professor òyìnbó gbàgbọ́n wà ní ìsúká wọn pé professor tó bá lọ sí yunifásitì kókó lọ́gbà náà Emma teacher òyìnbó bẹ lecturer òyìnbó àbí professor òyìnbó gbàgbọ́n wà tó bá lọ sí yunifásitì kókó lọ́gbà náà Emma teacher òyìnbó bẹ lecturer òyìnbó àbí professor òyìnbó gbàgbọ́n wà ní ìsúká wọn pé professor òyìnbó yẹn lọ́dún báyìí professor pàtó ìmọ̀ àti ìṣòro gbàgbọ́n má padà wá síbẹ̀ àtúndò ìgbò bẹ tó ti kó láti wá. then àdèmà ní student tí òkèrè wa ó lè jẹ́ foreigner ó lè jẹ́ Africa wa ó lè jẹ́ America wa máa wá báyìí lọ́sìn tàbí yunifásitì sílùú mi gbogbo tíṣà ẹ̀bẹ̀ lójú wa gbogbo ọmọ student ẹ̀bẹ̀ lójú wa.
So here, our honorable gentleman is talking about
back in those about during his time. So when he was at school learning age, he would go to the university. He went to um the word university basically had the word universe within it, and then the city. So people, teachers and lecturers from all over the world would come to the two universities at a time to teach, and they would also get students from all over Africa and all over the world. And that was just to give you an idea of how things have changed. Because if you look back at the situation now, most of the people that go to a certain university or a certain school are people within the local community. So what he was trying to say is that the word university has changed from what it was back in his days and what it is now. Now you can easily call it a local city, a local university, because the people that go to the universities or go to the universities in Nigeria are the people that live within the local community or people that live within the country. So in comparison to how it was before, when you have people from all over the world, which is why it's called the university. That was just his private joke, and I really think that was quite funny. So let's continue.
So first vice chancellor tó máa kọ́ ní Africa Professor Dike Igoni ìyẹn tó ló ń sìn oníkàlùkì gómìnà ìgbé Jésù Kambaya àti Professor Samaduku àti Professor Basu Afunwa àdúgbò ẹjọ́ mọ́ni so some Professor Samaduku àti Basu Afunwa Jésù Kambaya Jésù Kambaya àjọkúrò ní bàtà wà sílẹ̀ náà kúrò àwọn mẹ́tọ́ àná kúrò àwọn kọ́ni wà padà síbẹ̀ ti Basu Afunwa àti Professor head of the Faculty of Education Babaduku Professor of Economics which is one of our problems ti civil war tó cause tó fún wa òun ni pé a lè rí Yorùbá kó lọ sí ilé ìbò láti lọ lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ máa sọ pé ti ìbáṣepọ̀ nígbà yẹn wọ́n tẹ̀ àwọn ìbò tó wà náà níbí àwọn náà lọ àwọn bíi particularly in history department UI gbogbo mega man lọdí ọ̀rọ̀ náà lọ bàbá ẹ̀sìn kanìkan ló ń yarí tí ò lọ́ọ́ báyẹn tó jókòó pàṣẹ pòlìtì kásẹ̀ gbogbo náà sálọ ṣẹ́ mọ́ pé gbogbo wa fún báyìí nígbà tó ń pa ipò káàkiri àwọn sálọ ní nígbà tí àwọn náà padà délé yóò bá jẹ́ báwọn náà ti kúkúrú wọn àfi kan máa bẹ̀rẹ̀ láti lọ so lẹ́yìn civil war.
So here he's basically talking about the fact that the tribal war is something that started years ago. So pre-independence time or era, there were a time where the people from the Igbo tribes, their life they felt their lives were at risk. So people were killing. The Yorubas were or other tribes were accused of killing. I don't want to say the Yorubas. Other tribes were accused of killing the Igbos, and so most of the Igbos wouldn't go to universities outside their own safe zone, which is pretty much the east of Africa, of Nigeria. There was no Nigeria at the time, or perhaps they were, but it wasn't like this was the pre-independence time. So the Igbos didn't really feel very safe to go to universities in the outside of their hometown or outside of their safe zone, which is pretty much the east of Nigeria. That's what he was saying here.
Unification degree lọ sí ó ṣe unification degree ó di unify wa ni ìgbéyàwó ti bá ti bá ló ṣe tó wà lè bá ṣe wà.
Here,
if you have £10,000 or more and you are looking to invest that in property.
Sorry, here he's talking about that the unification of the different tribes, which is the Igbos, the main tribes, the Igbos, Yorubas, and the Hausas, or the Fulanis. It's saying that it was imposed upon the people of Nigeria. It was something that was a forced marriage, like a forced union. And what he was saying here is that it was better how things were before the colonial masters imposed upon them that they must get along. That was better how things were. How they were before they made it into a decree or made it law that everybody must get along. Whereas when people were just naturally just doing their own thing, things were just good without anyone's intervention.
àti báyìí làwọn Yorùbá ti máa ń lọ sí kẹtọpẹ Sahara route a máa gba òkè ọjà lọ sí Sahara desert akọjá lọ sí Libya Tunisia Morocco bẹ́ẹ̀ láti ṣe yẹn ló fi jẹ́ pé ẹ̀rí ọ̀rọ̀ Yorùbá ní Hausa ẹ̀rí ọ̀rọ̀ Hausa díẹ̀ ní Yorùbá ó yà bẹ́ẹ̀ láti ti bá wọn Igbo ṣe àwọn Yorùbá báyìí Yorùbá ti kọ́ ẹjọ́ ní wọn àti òbí jọ́ ní wọn bẹ́ẹ̀ tó máa bá jẹ́ tó máa kọ́ ọ̀pẹ́ ẹ̀ máa ṣe gbogbo ẹ̀ tó bá mi wá ṣe lójijì tó wá dàbẹ́ ní wípé òjijì tó fẹ́ ṣe yìí ó fẹ́ gbé àwọn ẹ̀yà díẹ̀ gbé bí wọn lórí bí ilẹ̀ Hausa báyìí àwọn tí kàwé tó bá wọn ṣe kàwé ní south ṣàlọ́ pé bá ṣe kàwé nílẹ̀ Yorùbá dáná lọ UK bí ti làwọn máa ń lọ làwọn Igbo máa ń kàwé ní dáná sí US bí làwọn máa ń lọ US àwọn lọ US lọ sí UK.
So he's saying that back in those days, when the people from the Yoruba tribes, after they finished the universities, they would go straight to, most of them would go to the UK to study Britain, and whereas the Igbos would go to the US to further their education.
So civil service wọn àti civil service wọn kọ́dọ̀ lè rí èèyàn tó wọn láti bá sábà ọ̀hún gbà mí wọn máa ń prefer kí wọn Arab láti Egypt Saudi kí wọn máa teach fún so wọn àti wáṣẹ university bí wọn rò wípé láti bá civil service kan tó ti wá seniority káàkiri Nàìjíríà táwọn ọ̀dẹ̀ tí kàwé tó wípé ó gbé gbọ́dọ̀ wọn pé sábà náà wà mẹ́ àwọn èèyàn bóyá àgbẹ̀tà náà ní sọ́kàn nìyẹn pé yes àwọn àlejò ní Nàìjíríà bàbá tó bí Nàìjíríà ti bá dọ̀bẹ̀rẹ̀ Igbo state sọ pé ọlọ́dà àwọn láti wájú olórí fún ìyàwó ẹ̀ àwọn ìgbòho sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ́dọ̀ náà ti sọ bẹ́ẹ̀ báyìí so ó jẹ́ kí sọ wà tí a bá gbé kẹta ń ṣe ni pé àdìtú federalism Ìbàdàn western region láti títí delta àtọ́jú ara wa Enugu eastern Nigeria títí dé Port Harcourt kálẹ̀ àwọn ṣe gbàdúrà ní 1963 wọ́n gé midwest kúrò ọmọ láti bìdì lọ sí àṣà gbogbo náà láti Lọ́kọ́jà dé Maiduguri láti Makurdi lọ sí Sokoto àwọn àdàdúró wọ́n ṣe tiwọn tó bá àwa ní federal government wà lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ṣe mọ̀ pé Èkó ò lè pàṣẹ Kaduna tàbí Ìbàdàn Enugu àbí Benin àgbẹ̀ sọ́ọ̀dì ìwọ́n bàtà máa ń ṣe education degree ẹni wá jẹ́ pé tó bá ti jókòó gẹ́gẹ́ bí olórí ológun sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ wọn máa pàṣẹ pàṣẹ wẹ́ẹ́dì ẹ wá ní United Teaching Service United Judiciary United Civil Service ìyẹn ló dẹ́rù bá àwọn Haúsá sí afẹ́fẹ́ lọ́ba yẹn tọ́lá ṣe fífa tọ́lá pé ní àràbà ní ìtòkí náà ti sọ́kè sí báyìí ọmọ àlọ́ yé wọn láti jẹ́ káwọn ọkùnrin jẹ́ ok now nígbà tí a bá rí ìwé ìjẹ́ ní ọ̀fà láti travel abroad láti lọ kàwé mẹ́ta kẹ́mi tó ṣe ti ara mi kí ìdíje dúró méje àbí wtf jẹ́ gbà mo ní scholarship bishop fellowship láti lọ University of British Columbia Vancouver Canada mo ní teaching assistantship láti lọ University of Pennsylvania ní America mo dẹ̀ ní scholarship láti lọ sí London School of Economics UK mẹ́ta ẹ̀kọ́ àwọn máa ní opportunity bẹ́ẹ̀ torí pé kò sẹ́ni tó respect education Nigeria tó bá lọ jáde University Nigeria wọn á bẹ́ẹ̀
So here he's talking about the fact that back in his days, Nigeria's education system was so respected within the Commonwealth community, and people would give you your due respect once they know that you've graduated from a Nigerian from a school in Nigeria and you're looking to further your studies. And he was saying he had offers to study abroad, I believe in British Columbia, which is in Canada, LSE in the UK, and another place as well. So this was. Then he went on to talk about the fact that during those time, once people are aware of within your school, you're known to be academically gifted and you're doing well. Like the offers they just come. Like you don't have to look for them. They'll come to you.
We're very well respected. I believe to this one, the first 100 university. I believe teaching hospital to see he, but university of anybody teaching hospital, we do number one. You know British Commonwealth. You push that to be a Saudi Arabia to need treatment. You see,
so what he's saying now is that back in those days, like even the king of Saud, the people in the royal family, the Saudi Arabia's royal family would leave Saudi Arabia last video to come to Nigeria to have their treatment. That was how respected, trusted, how much respect, regard, and importance people placed in the education system and the infrastructure and the way things were governed. These were pre-independence time. How things have changed horrendously. I'm going to stop there. And I've asked for permission to use this video from Mr. Dele. I forgot his surname. I've asked for permission, and I will continue. I don't want the video to be too long, so I'm going to stop there. He basically went on to talk about the amazing things, how Nigeria was on a global stage. The currency. There was once upon a time, 1 naira was once £1, and the kobo was also of value. I mean, when I was born, the kobo was still very much in use. We still use the kobo, which is the naira coins. And then he went on to talk about how he boarded a plane from Nigeria with just 364 naira. Do you know how much 300 naira is today? It's almost it doesn't even make $1. It's almost like worthless to have 300 naira or 500 naira. And he talked so much about how Nigeria and the economy of Nigeria, not just the economy, society and the leadership, how respected it was, how things were just done in the right way. And more importantly, what he went on to say, and the reason I love, when I was almost crying when I heard this, I just felt like I wanted to cry. I was like, when did the change happen? I wanted to cry so bad, not crying about, but cry so emotional. Like, I can't believe I never got to see the good part of Nigeria. I've always known that. I've always been told Nigeria will get better. Just go elsewhere look for better opportunities elsewhere. And so many other things. But I'm not going to go into what I want to really talk about. Then he went on to speak of the fact that back in those days, the structures were in place. So there was no way politicians or people in power would rely on just their political position as a source of income. There were people in the House of Assembly or with the position of power. There were teachers. There were people. There were actual civil servants. They were working for the government. So they would leave their teaching job to come to join our House of Assembly and to make laws. So there were people that were affected by things that were happening in the society, in the community. They saw the crimes. They saw the things. They were affected by it. So they were making rules that would benefit them as a whole, not just them versus us, the poor versus us, with the rich. And then this is an absolute animal farm. It's just an epitome of what animal farm is. Then he went on to make the comparison of how when the British were in control, when we were just British subjects, how we, the leaders, saw how the British people would almost live above us, above the indigenous of the land, and then how slowly over time the Nigerian government began to behave like their colonial masters, and even worse than their colonial masters. They began to make that divide and work in that divide to the extent that now there's a whole bridge of divide between the rich and the poor. I mean, trust me, the people in the House of Power do not know what poverty is. Most of them don't even know what poverty is. And the reason they began that switch that happened between politicians when they were actual civil servants and just working being part of government was a part-time thing. So they were being paid a part-time fee. The reason for that, what caused them to change or to go from being doing politics full time. He mentioned that as well. So interesting. I love this interview. It's so interesting. I wanted to cry through it. It's 2 hours long. I wish I could play the whole thing. I'm going to stop there because it's already 16, going to 17 minutes. And but if I'll think about it. I'll see the sort of response I get. Maybe I'll do another video when I talk about the other things he mentioned. He spoke so much, at length about the opportunities in Nigeria. How when you leave secondary school and when you have the grades, jobs comes running. And I know a man who told me that throughout his life he's never applied for a job. The jobs were always there. Just have to, once you do well, your job is to do well at school. Once you do well, the jobs will come and find you. You don't look for the job. That's not how it works. The job is standing there. You just have to get the grades or work hard enough to get it. Which explains why in Nigeria, go and read your book is so popular. Like, go and read your book is so popular because people understand that the minute you know that book, there is a light at the end of that tunnel. But now, unfortunately, that light has in fact been blown out, unfortunately. So this is so touching to me because I do feel like the future, the destinies of people have been stolen. The destinies of the youths have been stolen. And as a southern Nigerian, as a southern young lady, as a southern human being, I feel I want to cry out, I want to scream, I want to shout, I want to go berserk, I want to go gaga, I want to go of just knowing this information, knowing that once upon a time, Nigeria, the country that even I'm afraid of identifying with sometimes, because people just assume that, oh, if you're Nigerian, then they want to put me in a box. You know, that nation was actually once an actual great nation with a high moral compass, and just to fathom that thought is just extraordinary. And you can only pray for a revival of the goodness that people that live within people. People were actually good. People were good. People were good. You know, they had goodness within them, and they showed it, and they lived it, and they had a structural goodness or structural development in place to enhance their goodness. But unfortunately, democracy and independence have not been the dream they sold to us. Thank you for watching.